Hello everybody, welcome along to the Brighton and Hove Hope Exchange. My name is Adam and I'm from Ambigo and we're running this online event. So who are we and what is this all about? So what we do is we bring people together to exchange support for their personal goals, ideas and ambitions. And we normally do that in person. So we hold these events all around Brighton and Hove. But when lockdown started, that all changed. And we decided, what are we going to do? We still want to create these positive connections across the community and help people closer to what it is they want to do. So how are we going to do it? We decided we'd do online events, and here we are. We've been partnering with lots of different organizations over the past few months, and today we're partnering with Cascade Creative Recovery, and we're very excited to do so. So this is an opportunity for people within their family to come on and explain a goal or an idea or an ambition that they have. And then it's your turn to then offer any kind of support that you can. So if you have any information or some contacts or maybe some advice or any kind of words of encouragement, then this is an opportunity for you to give that to the participants taking part this evening, and you'll be able to help them get a little bit closer to whatever is important to them. So I'm here, and over in our five-way studio is Andy, and he's in front of the Wall of Ambitions. And I wonder if you'd be happy to tell us about that, Andy.
Hello everybody, how are you doing this evening? And welcome. Yes, I stand here in front of the Ambigo Wall of Ambition. It's a big sort of black thing, stands 7.5 foot tall, normally goes out and about with us. We hang around on street corners, gently loitering, armed with cupcakes and snacks and other delicious bits and pieces, often donated by a local co-op. Thanks guys at the co-op. And we invite people in the most friendliest ways to just write up what we call an ambition calling card. It's a calling card that pretty much says what you'd like to do, a little ambition, dream, passion, maybe hobby that you've maybe not quite got into but would like to start up. And we get people to throw it up on our wall of ambitions, where other people will just gently browse, meander around, nibbling on cupcakes or fruit nibbles or whatever. And oh, was that a sneeze? Bless you, Adam. and just have a little read. And like Adam just said, you know, if you feel so inspired, we have plenty of stuff around, post-it notes, lots and lots of colored pens, and you can leave a few words of encouragement or maybe a few tips, bits of advice, or for those people who are asking for help, maybe you know somebody who can actually do something that's really useful, like you know a printers who could print that, or you know a plumber who could actually wire that in. Wire the plumbing? Oh, you know what I mean. And that's kind of the idea, really. And we hang around in lots of places. Sadly, we can't hang around on your street corner. We'd like to, you know, Camptown Carnival when it's up and running, Freshers Fairs, on New Road, anywhere really. East Brighton, the wonderful, wonderful kind of park over in East Brighton. We had hopes of going over to beautiful, beautiful Hove this year as well. But instead, here we are on the street corner of your internet, hoping to draw you in to spend a little time with us. We're nice, friendly people, and we love listening. Really, that's it. That's what this is. I could waffle on, actually, but I don't want to, because this is more about making space for you. Talking about you, Adam, is there someone to... Oh, well, actually, should we talk about our fantastic partners some more for this week, or...
Yes, let's hear from somebody who is one of the driving forces behind Cascade Creative Recovery, and his name is Mike. Good evening, Mike. How are you doing?
Hi. Very good.
Really good to have you along. So for people who aren't familiar with Cascade Creative Recovery, what's it all about?
Cascade Creative Recovery was created about, what's it, eight years ago now? When a group of people came together to set up the Brighton Recovery Walk. They'd all come out of rehab. They're all ex-drug users, and they said, you know, let's see if we can put this together using our skills. And they were very successful. There was about 3,000 people walking through the streets of Brighton. Wow. Who knew they could do it? And they said, so what else can we organise? And so they came up with the idea of Cascade Creative Recovery, which is based on but all the things that they were missing in their own recovery. So imagine if you're a alcoholic or a drug user, and you've been to rehab, and you come out of rehab, and they've done a great job, and what are you going to do? Because if you go back to your old friends and your old circle of life, addiction is a chronic relapse condition. Most likely you're going to fall back into your addiction. So you need recovery is a long-term thing. It's for the rest of your life. People can go to rehab and be sober for 6-7 years, and then one day they'll have some terrible thing will happen to them, or they'll just fall into the wrong company, and boom, they're right back where they started. So it requires maintenance. It requires, and to maintain recovery requires many things. There's no single form of therapy it helps everyone.
And so before we go to our first participant, Helen, I wonder if you could just tell us about some of the activities that do take place now.
Right. Well, Cascade's our hub is at the Cascade Cafe on Baker Street in Brighton. Beautiful little place. Anyone can turn up there anytime. And there we have multiple creative activities. There's the creative writing group, which I run, have done since the beginning. Had hundreds of people through there. We've got a choir, and they've done amazing work. They sang at the Tate Gallery last year, and done shows all around. There's a drama group who they did a tour of London, Liverpool, and Manchester. Drama group's amazing. But we've also got crafternoons, and we've also got a Saturday open mic night, because we've got so many musicians, and these are all doable activities. These are all therapeutic activities. These are all things that people can engage in their day-to-day struggle to overcome addiction.
Yeah, and feel part of a really positive community as well. And we're very enthusiastic about meeting some of the people who take part in some of these activities. So we're going to go to Helen now. So thanks, Mike. We'll come back to you in a bit, because you're going to be sharing with us your own idea or ambition. So thanks for introducing who Cascade Creative Recovery is for us, and we'll see you a little later on. But without further ado, let's go over to Helen. Good evening, Helen. How are you doing?
Hi. Oh, it looks a bit dark. I don't know. Maybe I'll change the light. Hold on.
So I've actually seen Helen perform before.
Oh, it's still quite dark.
Yeah, I think it's because the window is behind you. So yeah,
is that better?
that's
Yeah.
it. There we are. That's perfect.
Okay. Right. Let me just.
So I was just about to say, Helen.
Oh, I'm not on a stable thing. Hold on a sec.
I'll tell you.
You can see I had rehearsed. Oh no, I'm sitting on a box. That won't work either.
So
right, I'm gonna have to just go. Let's see, go down a bit lower. That's still light enough, isn't it? Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Righty.
Let's go.
Right.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Thank you so much for rearranging the furniture so we can see you nicely. So I was just about to say, Helen, that I've actually seen you perform before, because you're also part of the choir with no name. That's correct.
You came to that. Okay.
I've come to several of your concerts, and I've been enthralled by them. So thank you so much for that. But I just wanted to drop that in. But tell us, what is the goal or ambition that you brought with you this evening?
Well, it was tricky because 3 came to mind, and I over the last 24 hours, I've just locked onto one, because it's quite comprehensive, I guess. It's been a passion for most of my life. So I'll describe it, and at any point just interrupt me and ask me whatever questions you need. So I've made a few notes. So what I felt and observed during COVID-19 was the level of people's kindness and compassion. that I saw really touched people. I felt on a sort of a psychological as well as a physical scale. And I witnessed that. I witnessed people doing it, and I witnessed people receiving it. So my project is something. The skill I want to share is teaching, but it's teaching skills in a specific way. So to help people discover their own healing touch abilities. And there's lots of evidence to say that intuitive, kind touch connects us with the best version of ourselves. So I've used these skills over the last 25 years in NHS hospitals and hospice, state primary schools, a couple of Brighton health charities, and a couple of Kenyan hospitals. I went over and did a volunteering thing there, and dementia cafes that used to run in Brighton. So I saw how learning to give touch on the hands, the face, and the head really made people feel better when they were doing it, as well as feeling great when they received it. So my idea came from using Cascade Cafe in a number of different ways. So at the cafe, if you've ever been in, we have an upstairs room which has a lovely energy, and we've done lots of different things there, different meditation, relaxation, filming for things. We do the open mics there. So my idea for this sort of what can hold this project is to co-create a community massage cafe or healing touch stroke massage cafe, and with the idea being that anybody in the community can access it. Children would come on one day, let's say, adults can come on another day, and the setup would be people in small groups, they're paired up, and for an hour they get to give and then switch and receive massage techniques that I'll teach them that they can apply to the hands, the face, and the head. Now, I know this feels good because I've had to work in it for so long, and something as small as the face and the hands, the reason that can be so effective in such a short time to help people de-stress is because it's a microsystem of the whole body. So you have your nerve endings from all those places run through the whole of you and connect up to different organs. So this kind of touch is teaching people how to do it safely and with kindness. So the second question, why do I want to do it, or how is it effective, is a lot of things I learned when I became a massage in schools instructor, because the Swedish community have done a lot of research on the benefits. So in schools, the major benefit was it broke down barriers, negative barriers between children, helped them bond, gave them self-confidence, and raised their self-esteem. So the first thing in the way I teach it is you have to give permission to a person to touch you. So you get to have confidence in your communication about what kind of touch is, appropriate for you. So all this touch goes on where people are dressed, so you can do it anyway. You can be seated or you can be lying down. And I see, through my years of working in different places, that some people are very nervous about touch and how inappropriate or, appropriate it is. But the benefits when you touch someone with kindness are 1,000-fold. There's lots of chemicals that release in your brain to make you feel relaxed. So in terms of, our community of Brighton, we have lots of kids, we have lots of teenagers that are involved in studying. We have lots of adults, different ages, right through to the elderly. And I remember massaging quite an elderly lady who had dementia, and she felt something. It triggered something in her brain. She started massaging me. You know, I mean, the body just takes over. It knows what to do, and it knows how to receive. So I think linking that to what I've seen during COVID, where people have opened up to receiving. Receiving is quite difficult for a lot of us because we're in this mode of doing. But when you learn to receive, you allow in so much. You allow yourself to rebalance more easily. So the sorts of things that build are, let's say, you're caring for yourself, your respect for yourself, which is something people learn in recovery: self-love, self-respect, self-care, and your levels of mental anxiety and fears, they lessen. So that when you do it regularly, whether you're the giver or the receiver or both, when you're in a stressful situation, which would normally send you spiraling, you stay more connected to yourself in a positive way.
So Helen, can I ask,
yeah.
what? This is an extraordinary idea to have a touch cafe in Brighton. Is it Brighton?
Yeah.
You think of? Yeah.
Yeah.
So how could people help you with that? What are the next steps that people could support you with?
Yeah, so I've made just a couple of things actually, because I know what I can do. I can, like, I've always been very good at having ideas, turning up and getting on with the task I know best. So all sorts of touch, spontaneously sort of responding to whatever's needed in the moment. That's what is easy for me. What is not easy for me, that I need the help with, is maybe 3 other people who want to co-create this project. So specifically, the skills would be social media influencing and marketing, accounting, and a venue donator. So the way I see that is, let's say someone donates a venue and the fixed costs in exchange for a weekly treatment, for example, something that's beneficial to both. And one last thing, which is a model that I've seen work really well in Brighton, is if you're familiar with the Real Junk Food Project.
Oh, yes.
They operate a pay-as-you-feel system. They put a minimum suggestion there, but it's not a barrier to what people need to pay. And I attend those events and those cafes, and I can see, and you can feel how much love goes into that, regardless. So then those people that have been a bit short of love and haven't been treated that well in their lives, it helps people build trust. So my idea behind the classes is perhaps we run it, or we try to run it on a pay-as-you-feel system. If people can afford, I don't know, Real Junk Food, say 2, but this is food. So, you know, anything, so let's say 5 and anything from that point on, or if they can afford less or nothing. What I see with these systems, they usually balance each other out. Or where I donate for another charity, some people pay a lot, some people pay a little. So the idea of everybody being able to access healing touch is important to me. And I worked in London, ran expensive clinics, low-cost clinics, and it excludes a lot of people. And I don't want us to be living in the age where something so vital to our well-being is something people tell, that's not for me, I can't afford that. So this is something I'd like to include in this whole generosity vibe that has been created during the virus, of food being given out, assistance of all kinds.
Well, have you got a time frame in mind, Helen? Have you got a date in mind that you'd like to see it open, or are you being a bit more flexible because these are very complicated times?
Well, yeah, because some people, you know, I speak to some people who freely touch in this situation at this time. Some people are more guarded, and I think the main thing is that when people enter into a space, when I've watched people in pubs and cafes, they've got the idea that they're going to gather with like-minded people. So whether you're after something in the shop or whether you're going for a drink with friends, there's a relaxation aspect. So if you know you're coming to learn a new skill, people are free to behave as they want. So whether they want to wear a mask, that's up to them. If that gives them peace of mind, I think the important thing is, and the way I see it in Brighton, like the shops today, it's not being policed, but I think what people feel they want to do that keeps them relaxed, that's important. So, you know, it could open next week, for example. Yeah, there's not for me, there's not a restriction. That's where I think the co-creation comes in, because people, when I co-create with other things with people and cooperate with them, everybody's ideas are good. You know, everybody's ideas are valid. So if 4 of you sit down and say, Helen, you can do the teaching, I'm looking after the health and safety, I'm behind the scenes, you know, looking after the other bits and pieces, then it's important that this is something for everyone. So I'm very open to ideas and maybe other positive things that people might want to add to that.
Lovely. Well, there are going to be people watching now, and there'll be people watching later on tomorrow and next week, and they might have some ideas. So if you are watching this and you do have some support you can offer, or you're interested in getting involved with Helen's idea, then you can contact us in 3 ways. One is you can just click on the link that you see next to this video, and you'll actually join us here in this broadcast area, and we can bring you in. Or you can leave a comment underneath the video on Facebook, if that's where you're watching us, or over on YouTube, if you're watching this over there. Or you can send a message on WhatsApp on the phone number that's about to scroll across the bottom of your screen. So do get in touch. It's as easy as leaving a Facebook comment underneath the video. But for now, I'm going to hand you over to Andy, Helen, because Andy's task is to try and capture everything in a nutshell that you've been describing about your ambition. So let's see how he's got on, Andy.
Hello, Helen.
Hi, Eddie. Sorry, I probably spoke so quickly. You had to write really fast.
Yes, but that's not a problem.
Okay.
As you know, my role, as Adam has just said, is to really try and capture the essence of what you've been telling us onto our ambition calling cards. Normally, we'd give you space to be able to write this yourself, and one or many of our really wonderful volunteers would be happy to spend time with you, just chatting things over so that you can get the words just right. Things are kind of backwards these days, and I'm trying to write what I can. So what we get now is my disembodied voice telling you what I've written on a sheet of paper, which we call the ambition calling card, and checking in with you to see whether I have caught the essence of what you're saying, in particular, the bit where the passion is and what might be useful in terms of making this thing happen. Are you okay for me to go through this?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay, here we go. So I've written that you want to teach people in such a way as to enable them to use touch as part of their learning and well-being experience by creating, now I've written the word massage cafe because that's what I thought you said, but then a little later on Adam talked about a touch cafe. Both have very similar ideas. Sharing therapeutic touch together. Oh gosh, I went to a different color there, which hasn't really come across very well. Yeah. But the real words there that you said, which you said with a great deal of feeling, were safety and with kindness. And you can never have enough kindness in my book. Kindness is a real foundation stone. And that's coming through really strongly, I feel, on what you've been sharing with us. And you talked about many things, including how you would be promoting and enabling people to do good communication and get assured mutual consent. So there's a respect in everything that you're doing, a real sharing there. And that touch thing, yes, I have to admit I have seen it. I have come across the taboo that we have about touching. So, you know, being able to create a space where the human contact is available again in a safe and kind fashion, in addition to the therapeutic, you know, massage techniques that you're bringing to it, you know, that sounds like a lovely dream, a lovely idea. Now, when we come to what kind of help you might need, often we get a whole variety. It really depends on how well formed your dream, your ambition, your project is. And sometimes people will say, actually, I don't really know how to start. And others will say, I've got it so finely tuned, I know exactly what I need. In all cases, we welcome any of those. And you've been doing this for a little while, you've been exploring it for a while, and you've really focused in on co-creation. Now, I've written co-production there, but a co-production, co-creation, they're very similar ideas. So I'm hoping you'll accept that me leaving the word I can't speak, co-production on the sheet. You identified 3 areas which would be really useful to you as you think about it, because these are areas that you said that you've identified that, you know, you're lacking a kind of skills or experience in, maybe, and that's social media and marketing. That's accounting, which I assume is to do with the money side of things, making things balance, making sure that everything is financially sustainable. And you also talked about venues, perhaps a location that can be offered to the people who would benefit from this in exchange for the benefits somebody who has that space could get from participating, you know, in exchange for massages, in exchange for that kind of therapy. Now, unfortunately, I've clipped the bottom of the sheet, so bear with me. I'll just lift it up a little. There we go. And you also spent a while talking about how that money could come in, which I think possibly is a part of what you were talking about when you talked about the accounting side to the project. And there are models there that echo, that are in rich, compassionate sympathy with the overall feeling of the project as you set out. Hence the pay what you feel, an ability to pay forward if you have surplus and are happy to do so, or an ability to be able to access it if you don't. And then you can pay forward in other ways by sharing that massage offered with good communication and good mutual consent into the future. Really lovely, generous and generative ways of making the economics of it kind of turn around. In essence, that's everything I put on the sheet. Is there anything there that, you know, significant that I've missed or maybe even misunderstood?
No, nothing that you've missed from what I did say. If I might add a couple of things that I didn't mention,
of course,
which might it might speak to people who are less familiar with what the benefits of kind touch are. So for people that are a little more left brain, they like to research a lot of things. They like evidence, scientific, yes, but perhaps a bit more scientific. I'll just share a couple of things. So how might it benefit teenagers? By teenagers coming along and learning how to give and receive therapeutic touch for each other. So what we do know is it improves learning and focus, and it balances hormones and mood swings and sleep cycles. So that's something in particular that we experience during teenage or the start of, which can be quite difficult to stay centered when that happens. And it's difficult in the family arena for the older, for the parents too. So what I saw before when I taught massage in primary schools is the benefits were that the kids who learnt the techniques took them home and did them on the parents, and this created a bonding within the family to a large degree. So I've done enough house shares in Brighton to see difficult teenagers and parent relationships can be for everybody. So that's a benefit. And I work in the library cafe, so I see a lot of teenagers, and I see a lot of people studying and have stress and overload, you know. So those are the benefits that I thought. Plus, it decreases cravings and addictions. Now, that's great for people who have gone through recovery to know that, but teenagers, as I've seen, they're playing around with stuff. They may not see the long-term effects of that. So when you do learn therapeutic touch, it balances your immune system and your hypothalamus in your brain and other parts of your chemistry that lean towards craving and becoming addicted in an unbalanced way. So it can just it can help you keep more of a center. So that's the teenagers there, as well as self-image and morale, because they're quite prone to what's going on in, you know, their peers. So to be able to sort of be themselves, be comfortable in their own skin, that's really important. And the young ones, I think what I noticed is the earlier children can learn to feel safe with touch, or relearn is important, because they might have had bullying at home, bullying at school. So they learn the balanced way of how to use power. So it's turned into a positive rather than a misuse of power and control. For some kids, I've worked with kids, autistic children, and learning, people with different learning styles. Some take very well to touch, some avoid it. But it helps balance the two sides of your brain. So for people who have difficulty with dyslexia and other things, that helps just bring people into a more able state. And as for the adults, well, I mean, gosh, we have all kinds of things, you know, going on for us. But
I'm going to ask you to pause gently there for a moment.
Yeah.
Because allow me to swap the cameras over.
Oh, sure.
And hello. Hi.
Hi.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the calling card and I can put it on the wall, and we'll carry the conversation on. There's a lot in this. There's actually masses in it. And this is one of the things that often happens when we do an ambition calling card, because, as you know, we're attempting to capture what is both an elegant and intricate and a well thought out idea with a great deal of information into often no more than 12 words, you know, or somewhere thereabouts, so that people can try and capture that. Which is why when we're out there in the streets and so on, it's really lovely to be able to spend time at our, what we call the Contemplation Station, which is really a picnic table, often covered with those nibbles that I mentioned a little earlier on. And one or many of our fantastic volunteers who would be able to listen with you about the things you're saying and perhaps help you draw out one or two of the key things that is going to get through, that is going to be meaningful to the people who are watching this, so that they feel the passion that you have, as well as hear the sureness and the thought throughness of what you're constructing here, and be able to come to, in a way, what's often quite important, which is how they relate to it. And on one level, you're talking wonderfully about how they could relate to it in terms of benefit. We also want people to be able to think, I could relate to this in terms of how I could help. And that brings us round to the types of responses we get. Often we'll get people who just say things that are really encouraging because they've missed out on touch and they've come through to experience what you said, be it left brain, right brain reintegration and becoming a whole person, be it being able to form a different kind, a healthier relationship back into their families with their loved ones who they may have become estranged with, especially as we go through, as happens with adolescents, we go through separation, and then we need safe separation as part of that growing journey and so on. And from what you're saying, I can really appreciate you understanding this. So in this case, we may get people who will understand that, and when it comes to social media and marketing, will know how to get your message to the areas where people are who really kind of need to hear it, who you'd like to hear it, but also how to make it so that it becomes accessible for them. And it's sometimes little bite-sized pieces, sometimes it is the full essays or the theses or the journal articles that we will refer to, or maybe it's the kind of, biochemical stuff, that wonderful thing about oxytocin and other kind of wonderful hormones that are, bring them on. I love them, basically.
Yeah.
Give me a hug, give me loads of oxytocin. I'm up for that. It's stuff like that. But it's also how we relate to people on that side of it. And that's what I'm hearing from you. It'd be really lovely if you're watching and what Helen's saying is triggering off a sense of, yeah, there is something frankly magical here. And I encourage you to use the word magical. And you are really quite sharp with not just accounting, but circular economics, or this alternative way of making things financially sustainable. Helen is offering an opportunity here, and would really appreciate that kind of insight and maybe the mechanics of helping make this a really sustainable thing. And of course, if you're sitting on top of them, what is the perfect location for you? What would be the best place to do this, do you think?
Oh, well, I spend quite a lot of time in all parts of the city, so I go a lot on foot, and we seem the most diverse, where a lot of people gather. I don't know the best, maybe, but maybe there could be two portals. One is around that level bit there, the level area I was there today, where it's a sort of a hub, all sorts of parts of the community cross out or gather there, so anywhere near there.
Yes.
And then you've got where I live at the moment. I live the East Brighton side, and then I used to live the other side in Hove. When if I walk down the street there, that can sometimes feel like everyone lives and stays in Hove, so they might never come to the level even.
This is true.
So there's a thought I had about that, which, in some ways, like you described your thing, you hang on street corners, you move around, you're mobile.
Well, we like to be, yes.
Yeah, and I was mobile for 15 years, so you can access people that wouldn't normally go and explore a venue. True. So I'd be quite happy to, take it out to the other side of the city if our base was, if our base was around the level somewhere.
Which brings us right back to this lovely, lovely, lovely idea of co-creation. So if you're watching and you're inspired by how Helen could take this out to the right places, maybe multiple places, maybe you can build up a whole team of educators with the right value set and so on, get in touch. Which, Helen, brings me to a brilliant opportunity of asking Adam to join us again. So I, not in any scripted way at all, without any sort of, expectation, can say to him, Adam, if people are inspired by Helen's somewhat wonderful ambition here, how could they get in touch with us?
There are 3 ways to do it. And the easiest way is to just comment on the video that you're watching now on Facebook or YouTube. So that's like this thing here, because this is from me, Helen, full disclosure there. Well, I just had a thought about a potential venue that could be a really good fit. There's a cafe called Wellbeing Brighton, and it's on Queen's Road. And the reason they sprang to mind is because they are a cafe on the ground floor, and then upstairs they have room for therapy services and things like that. So I'm sure that they will be thrilled to hear from you. Now, they opened just before lockdown. It was the worst possible timing for them. So I don't know what their plans are now about reopening. But if they are to reopen at some point in the not too distant future, I think that could be a really good fit. I've been there. They've given us free coffee, which is very nice. They've got a really nice ethos as well. So if you go to the Ambigo page, you'll actually see where it says Wellbeing Brighton. That's linked to their Facebook page. So you could click on that and get in touch with them directly. But in terms of other ways to get in touch, you can, if you're watching, you can click on the link that accompanies this video, either below it or to the side, or maybe even above it, who knows. You click on that, and then you'll join us here in our broadcasting platform, and then we can bring you in and you can talk to us yourself, or you can send a message on WhatsApp. There's the number right below my chin. Off it goes, and we'll pick that up and we'll pass it on to Helen as well. All right, thank you so much, Helen, for describing your exciting ambition. We really, really want to see it happen, if at all possible. So we'll be sending on any support we get your way. And as I say, we have people watching these not just live, but next week, the week after. So there's a good chance that somebody will be in touch soon. And also, we'll be writing a social media post about it before too long as well, so we can spread the word further about what you're wanting to do and the help you need.
Oh, thanks, guys. And thank you to everyone in Brighton and Hove who might like to join in. Yeah.
Good stuff. All right. Thank you so much, Helen. We'll speak again soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And thank you, Andy, as well. You'll be back with us shortly. Let's go to our next participant. So let's go to the aforementioned Mike. Hello again, Mike. How are you doing again?
All right. Yeah. Good.
Thanks for being there. Thanks for holding on. So now it's your turn to talk about what it is that you'd like to do, any kind of goal, idea, or ambition that you have.
Well, I had to think about this, and I hope your friend Andy has got plenty of those post-it notes, because I've got about 9. But
oh, wow.
I'll try and just break it down to the first couple. Cascade's a groundbreaking approach to recovery. It really is. It's unique in the country. We're a peer-led, volunteer-based organisation that's built. It's asset-based. Do you know what that means?
Yeah. So you're using the skills and the services that people have to drive it forwards. Yeah,
the people within the community, and that's actually part of the recovery process. You know, if you have skills and you're in recovery from addiction, and you've nowhere to put them into effect, you know. So that's what that's what Cascade Cafe was built on. And I've looked around. There's no other cafes in the country that are doing this, that are peer-led and volunteer-based. And it's so the thing that we've been expanding so much for over the last 5 years. We have last time I did some research at the cafe, we have about 100 people in just in 1 week. And we've got just a constant. I've seen people come into my group of hundreds of people going through, and we need a bigger premises. Now, when we first, I told you about the origins of Cascade and how it first came about. When Pete Davis, our manager, was first looking for premises to start Cascade, there's so much stigma against addiction. So much stigma. When he was talking to landlords and saying, we're a charity of people in recovery from addiction. As soon as the word addiction gets, people have images of junkies injecting, shooting each other, crackheads, all the stereotypes, and they put the phone down. You know, we had such a problem trying to get the first premises. And you know, some of our events are aimed at combating this kind of prejudice against people. The idea that somebody, because they're addicted to alcohol or drugs, that they're some kind of criminal. And it's a real problem. I mean, if you think about it, the world's up in arms at the moment about racism and sexism. So the N-word, of course, is outlawed, but you know, you can also mental health. You can't say the words, I'll say it, but retard. You can't say that anymore. You know, that's it. But people are perfectly happy for you to say junkie or alky. That's fine. You're allowed to have prejudice against those people. So it's a real trick. So we need a bigger premises, and anyone out there, if there's any landlords out there who are sympathetic towards people in recovery, and I'm saying people in recovery, these are intelligent people who've taken it upon themselves to make a better life and to get back into society. These are not your stereotypes. So if there are any landlords out there who've got bigger premises, we're in communication with the Brighton Hove City Council at the moment. Not much luck coming straight away. But if there's landlords out there who, through COVID-19, their premises have been vacated by shops who can't sustain themselves, we'd like them to get in touch. So
what does the premises need to include? How big does it need to be? What kind of facilities does it need to have?
Ideally, I think we could, like a front entrance room where we would have a meeting place, but we'd also, ideally, and this is in my dream premises, we'd have a sort of theatre space for our theatre group and open mic nights and the choir rehearsals. We have a group room for sitting around and doing, because we host AA meetings and NA meetings from our cafe. So for group meetings, maybe 2 toilets, have another room for a music studio, a recording studio, because we've got a partner organisation called We Are Not Saints, who are bands, people in recovery. And we've got so many poets and musicians within our community. Our communities, I say, core is about 360 people. So at the moment, you know, if you go to our theatre events and stuff, you'll find about that many dedicated people. But the actual community is far bigger of people who drop in and out. So we need a big premises, really. And if we're going to open now in the COVID-19 situation, and we're going to have any distancing and still have people on board, we want the Cascade, I joke about it, Cascade Planetarium. We want enormous place. So premises, yeah, that's one. The other is currently I'm in the I run the writing group, but there's a book's been written. It's all the poetry through the years since we've gone. It explains the history of Cascade, and it's all just sitting there on my desktop, ready to go. I was in communication with a publisher at the beginning of lockdown, but they completely shut down. So so the request for Cascade is, the ambition for Cascade is a bigger premises. My personal request is someone to help format a book, preferably somebody who's sympathetic with recovery and alcoholism and drug use, to give a good price on publishing this book. But there's a third ambition, which is that to have some kind of interaction with a university, because some of the stuff we do, I've done a study. We did an event in September last year, set up a stage outside the I360, and we had bands there. We had the choir, we had poets, we had amazing day, and we had and a walk, a protest walk along the seafront from down by the Concord 2 right up to the I360, basically talking about drug users' rights and anti-stigma, and it was a great laugh, the whole thing was brilliant. And I did some research before or after, looking at 3 things: self-esteem, well-being, and loneliness. If you can imagine, these are critical factors to relapse. Yeah, isolation, you can imagine. These are the things that lead people. And I've shown in my research, which probably wouldn't stand up at a university, that our events, our activities significantly improve these factors: self-esteem, combat loneliness, well-being. And I'd like to have somehow to be in contact with a university so they could send a student to research us. I'd be very willing to collect all the data. I've experience with that with Sussex University, collecting data for students doing research projects, so that we can show to people how effective, in a scientific sense, that our holistic program is.
So would you be looking for somebody to do a research report on the benefits of Cascade Creative Recovery services?
Yeah,
okay,
very much. Yeah,
so it sounds like what you need support with there is pretty simple. People who are either involved. Which university are you thinking of?
Obviously Sussex and Brighton.
So both. Okay.
Unfortunately, I don't think Sussex University has a specific substance misuse course going at the moment. They have in the field of psychology, but any university love to have them take interest in us, and then maybe some of the rehabs and statutory treatment services would take more interest in us.
I was going to ask, so yeah, what would be the impact on Cascade if there was that research project written, so that there was hard data-driven evidence, scientific evidence that it works? How would that help?
It'd be very helpful in terms of funding applications. I have awful difficulty with funding applications. The funding bodies, when we're competing with bone marrow cancer kids, they're looking at, we've got to get rid of one of these applications. Which one? Of course, it's going to be the addicts get put aside, in favor, and maybe rightly so. The bone marrow cancer kids, they need the money, but we need something to improve our bids, and also maybe if we have some research behind us, then the statutory services and some of the rehabs will recognise how valuable we are to their clients.
And you speak really powerfully and passionately about the work that Cascade Creative Recovery does. Why is it so important to you?
I'll just say a brief story. When I first got in, I studied a master's degree in substance misuse at Sussex University, and when I came out, I started working at a rehab. And I won't say the names, but there was a girl working there. A girl recovering there, and she'd been there for 6 months. She'd done brilliantly. She used to be addicted to heroin. She had a kid, and finally, they'd agreed. She got custody of her kid back. All the other people in the rehab looked up to her. And it was a privilege to have her. I was doing a writing group there, and it was a privilege to have her there and see her, how she was a recovery champion. And I remember she left, went back into life, and a month later I was walking down James Street, and I saw her there with a bottle of whiskey, right back at square one. After the treatment service had done such a brilliant job for her, after she'd done such a brilliant job. And I thought, this is tragic. This is tragic. And by the way, I got another job, a volunteer job. I won't say where, to protect the innocent and all that, but in Brighton. And it was a place for homeless people, a residential place for homeless people. And she was still there. And the custody of the kid had been taken away. I mean, so what I'm saying is, addiction is a chronic relapsing condition. And I say to the rehabs and the statutory services and CGL and pavilions, and I say to them, you do brilliant work in helping people to recover from addiction. But if you want your hard work to stick, you need recovery is for the rest of your life. You need somewhere like Cascade where people can come on a daily basis, engage in durable activities. You know, if I say to you, Adam, let's stop drinking, it's not a durable activity. What are you going to do? Sit on your couch and watch Netflix until the urge comes back? You need to engage. You need a community, and then our community. Once you get in there, have you heard of a thing called cognitive social learning theory?
No.
It's a psychological thing where it's an innate human instinct to mimic our peers, the people around us, and it's subconscious. And of course, in a way, it's how we get into drinking in the first place and taking drugs. We see our mates at the age of 16, and they're all laughing and having fun. We want to be a part of that, and so we end up pouring alcohol down ourselves. We don't even know why we're doing it. But it goes both ways. If you're engaging in a community of people who are having fun, drug-free, and really enjoying life, it's contagious. Contagious. So I'd like to have people like CGL and residential rehabs around Brighton saying, as soon as their people leave, as soon as their clients leave, Cascade, here, go and get engaged with these people. Continue. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop when you come out of rehab. There's so many things you can do to just have fun. How about that? You know, as a way to avoid getting bored and falling back into addiction.
Yeah.
You know? So that's why I'm passionate about it. And
thanks so much for explaining that. Cool. Really appreciate that. Let's hand over to Andy. Now, you've given him a tough challenge. You've got several things on the go there. Let's see how he's got on.
No pressure then, hey?
Okay.
Hi, Mike. It's nice to hear from you. Thanks for coming on. I've attempted to distill the wealth of what you've been sharing. And what I've done is I've actually split it into 3 ambition calling cards. So if you're okay with this, let's go through them one by one. But I shall let you know what they are in the first place. Then I'll come back to the first one. We'll go through in a little bit more detail. I'll check that I have that right with you. And then we'll do the same with the other 2 and then get them onto the wall. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's great.
Great. Okay, let's start with really from the point of view of Cascade Creative Recovery, you do need the bigger premises. That's what you're saying. So the first one addresses that. The second one comes from you telling us about the creative, the writing part of the things that you've been doing there. And there's a body of work there. So really that's about publishing, ready to publish now. And the
also formatting, but I think it needs to be formatted before published, but yeah.
Understood. And the last one that I put in there, now forgive me, I've used the word knowledge base. So build the knowledge base at a research level in order to give that kind of credible, robust and rigorous statement, observation, comment about the holistic approach. And you were really eloquent, if you don't mind my saying. There is something really important about modeling a healthier and more effective way of being so people have more options when they come through recovery and so on. And that's coming through really clearly to me from what you're saying. Right, if you're okay, let me go back to the first one. And that really is very simple. You in ways, what you're telling us is you kind of outgrown the cafe. And there is there's a wealth of stuff that you're doing. I do love the sound of it, from music, from creative writing, from performance and so on. And really, when it comes to the help that's needed, you're looking for a sympathetic landlord or people who might be able to put you in touch with that. And you were kind enough to talk to us about the stigma, the taboo that still kicks around, and a lot of issues. We as a society, we've become a little bit more sensitive, a little bit more aware of things that you've mentioned, like race, like gender, like some of the attitudes and so on. And you're right, certain words still kick around when it comes to recovery. And you eloquently said that, the idea of a disparaging or insulting or somehow just sidestepping the person and reducing them to some sort of symbol, that goes on there. So there's a stigma issue underneath that, which is not just what possibly is standing in the way of looking for really decent landlords who are still going to engage in a very understandable, sustainable market contract agreement, but are not going to slam the door in your face simply because you said a taboo word. We've got a way to go on that. It is sad, but I'm glad that to be able to call it out, to have you call it out, and to be able to share your doing so. So the call for help here is very much, if there are people out there who know people who are estate agents on the commercial side, who are landlords themselves or landladies themselves or whatever, who have the right sort of contacts and can get in touch and open doors for you against the tide of the stigma and the prejudice, then that's going to be a lovely thing to have. And of course, any ideas around that. Before I move on, is there anything missing from that particular idea?
Well, I think maybe we've got managers coming in next. Pete Davis, he's going to be coming up next, so I might leave it to him to expand on that. But I think basically you've got it. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's good to have. What you can't see is me putting it on the wall, which we'll come to that in a moment. Underneath there, and I did have to write this quite quickly, so my apologies. Hence using the abbreviation CCR, which I intend to mean Cascade Creative Recovery. Brilliant. And there is this body of work, and it must be creative, it must be wonderful to have over that time to have been with people as they work through the how to express what's going on, and to be able to use that creativity. So I think there will be a lot of interested people. So your thought about, how do I compose this into a book? How do I format it? Maybe there are editors out there who know about the kind of way these things work. Maybe there's an agent, a literary agent out there with editors who can even help you take it through, maybe through a commercial publishing, or maybe vanity publishing as they call it, whatever's best for you. But it sounds like you'd like the insight, the tips and advice, and the chat with people who can really open that up for you and the other writers.
And maybe somebody to read it who's not involved with Cascade, who doesn't actually know too much about us, who can say, well, actually, as a layman, somebody who doesn't know about it, I've read this and I can understand it.
That makes a lot of sense. How accessible is it to the wider public, which actually helps move towards that thing about breaking down the stigma as well, doesn't it?
Does. That's one thing we're really passionate about at Cascade. And if I went on and did other ambitions, want to do more events, more big events to spread the word about recovery, and that people can be, and that we're just people.
I think we'll make space for you again at future opportunities, which we do for everyone, of course. Let me take this one away, and what you can't see at the moment is me planting it on the wall of ambitions. And here we go. This was my last attempt to capture the third idea. And that's where I talked about the knowledge base, which was the best word I could think of at the time for what you were saying. And it's this researcher, when it comes to the call for help. So I'm wondering if I can make that image a little bit sharper for everyone. When it comes to the call for help, the call for advice or tips or whatever, it sounds to me like suggestions or contact with suitable contacts in the research industries, maybe beyond the psychology department. There may be contacts in, for example, the medical department or the social work department, or maybe just sociology or humanities or stuff like that.
All those things,
it's the people we don't know. And this is where the power of Ambigo comes in. Who do you know that I don't know who might be the right person to talk to? And because I don't know of them, I would never think to ask. And this is one of the things, isn't it? How do we know to ask if we don't know it's there? So one of the things on your behalf, if I may, ask you wonderful people who are watching and tuning into either this live show or tuning into a later version of it, the repeat, is there anyone that you know that we wouldn't have thought of, even begun to have thought of? Maybe there are research organizations out there that are not just the big universities, who also have the right kind of standing, research think tanks and stuff like that.
I would add to the people who are interested in the recovery model of addiction. Yeah,
and that was what was in there, wasn't it? There's a holistic approach and also the recovery bit, and that's why I drew particular attention to what you're saying about modeling another way of behaving that reduces the chance of you going back into using substances as your way of surviving. Okay, well, if it's all right with you, let me do the usual thing of swapping cameras. Hi, it's good to see you, Mike. And grab this last of the three ambitions that I've drawn up on your behalf and get it placed here on the wall of ambitions. Now, as you know, normally when we're out there on the streets or at Fresh Affairs or Kemp Town Carnival or, Hangerton and Knoll near their Walsett Community Centre or close to the, in East Brighton or wherever it is we travel, we basically let this sit there and we allow people to read these ambitions at their own pace. And that's an important part of it. I so wish we could do that for you watching, that you can actually just gently browse this without being interrupted if you don't want to be, and read it at your own pace. Form your own gentle relationship with each of these ambitions and draw, reflect on what comes up for you. And what tends to come back, Mike, is maybe a few words of just encouragement. And although there is a big stigma around this, the issue of substance misuse, of addiction, and so on, it's a big one out there. And there's a lot of pressures on all of us. So it's very understandable how this rises up as a concern. So if that resonates for you and you think you may be able to help because you have the right contacts in terms of a landlord or someone who knows their way around those sorts of people, or a department out there, or research people who may be interested in, at the very least, letting Mike know who would be a good person to speak to, if not an actual route through to just the right group of graduates or undergraduates or whatever who could come up and be a part of this, then that would be brilliant as well. And likewise, and we get this a reasonable amount because the city, which is a lovely place, is full of very creative people. So I would be really surprised if someone, if we don't get anyone being able to step forward and say, actually, I do have, or I know people who can do lots of good editing and stuff like that. And surely there's a benefit here. We encourage that. As I've been talking, Mike, has anything else occurred to you that you might like to ask for?
Are you sure? Anyone
focus on these then?
Yeah, I mean, I think yeah, I'll leave it to I think Pete Davis is coming up. He's got a lot of very similar requests to me. But anyone wants to be partners with us, do some fun stuff, do some events and stuff. Any rehabs in Brighton or anywhere in the country who are interested in what we do, get in touch. We want to expand the community. We want to expand our cause.
Great.
And we think it's groundbreaking and really important that we do.
Brilliant. Thank you, Mike. On that note, then, I'm going to ask my friend and colleague Adam to rejoin us. And I'm going to ask exactly the same thing that I always like to do, which is to say, Adam, if anyone who's been watching is inspired or has a few tips or would maybe just like to say a few words of encouragement, what are the best ways for them to get in touch with us?
Yeah, there are several ways you can do it. We've got people watching on Twitter, Periscope, YouTube, Facebook. Hello to everybody watching now and people not watching live. But if you are watching now, or even if you are watching at a later point, then you can just leave a comment underneath the video you're watching and it will appear on our screen. And we'll make sure that that information is shared with Mike. Or you can click on the link that you'll see accompanying the video, and that will bring you into our broadcast centre, and you can talk to us yourself about what kind of support you'd like to offer. Or you can send a message on WhatsApp if that's what you like to do, and the number is about to scroll across the bottom of your screen. So you mentioned there, Mike, that Pete is here. So I just thought I'd bring in Pete now, because Pete is the founder, or one of the founders, is that right, of Cascade Creative Recovery? And so let's see if Pete can add anything to what you've been discussing. Hello, Pete.
Hi, Adam. How's it going?
Yeah, really good. Now, what a spokesperson you've got there in Mike. And he's on brand as well. He's got the T-shirt and everything.
Yeah.
Represent. You said represent. Sorry.
Is there anything you'd like to add to what Mike was saying there?
I mean, Mike's our domesticated academic. So, and I tend to, I'm maybe a bit more based in the week-to-week functionality of the place, and budgets and funding and organisational policies and stuff like that have to go into any charity, that particularly one that supports vulnerable people, because and that's something that we glory in, is the fact that we are all at times in our lives vulnerable, and that's okay. That's okay to be vulnerable, because as we've seen with Cascade, with that vulnerability, there's also immense glories and achievements, and seeing somebody who's 4 months out of a crack house, and and possibly some dire straits like that, get up on stage and be really silly in say our first ever panto, Aladdin Sane on the London Road, which was about Aladdin who gets a slap addiction and becomes a slap happy chappy, and so on and so forth, and it's taking the mickey out of treatment services and ourselves and stuff, and see someone do that from a life and death situation of active addiction, to getting up in front of a couple hundred people and just having a laugh and facing their fears and going, I'm going to do this, with the support of the other people that might be a bit further down. It's just glorious and a real privilege to witness that, I'm not sure how I got onto that, but I mean, what we need is trustees, because they're quite hard to come by.
Can I pause you, Mike? Sorry, Pete. Is that okay? Because we'll come back to you in a little bit, because we've got Lucienne waiting. She's been waiting patiently, so we'll go to her next. But thank you for now. We'll come back to you, and also Mike, thanks so much for explaining everything you have and sharing.
Thank you very much.
Your goals with us. Yeah, appreciated. And we'll be in touch soon. Thank you to the both of you. Thanks, Mike. And let's go straight into Lucienne. There's no time to lose.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you for holding on. Really appreciate that.
Welcome.
Okay, so we'd love to hear about your goal or ambition that you want to share with us.
Well, I've just been listening to Mike and a little bit of Pete, and so I feel like it's quite selfish in my own ambition. I think it would be wonderful for Cascade to have a bigger premises. I teach yoga there, and you know, it'd be lovely to be able to expand that and to have a bigger premises, and perhaps to to be able to expand on that. Personally, though, I think for me, getting involved with the drama was a fantastic thing. You know, if I look back at my life, if I'm not doing something creative, then, you know, then that kind of leads to trouble, you know. And I can look back even to when I was at school, and I think I thought I'd go to secondary school and there'd be this wonderful kind of school play and there'd be all this creativity. And I went to secondary school in the 80s and it was nothing like that. You know, it was teachers' strikes and there was, you know, it was really not very creative at all. And I think I just started smoking weed and drinking, and, you know, and intermittently through my life, I've kind of gone back to substance use. And I know that when I've done that, it's been because I'm not involved creatively. I'd actually still quite like to be a character actress as terms of a personal ambition. I really would. And I'd like to be writing. I'd like to be involved in collaboration, kind of script writing and playwriting and yeah, I think and I'd like to be teaching more, but definitely I'd really love to be, you know, have the opportunity to take on some possibly some serious character roles. You know, I'm getting older, but I've just been revisiting Shameless. Like, it was quite interesting. That was written, it was a true story, and well, it started off as a true story, and so I've been watching that. And there's a woman in it who's so funny, but if you look back at her on Wikipedia, she didn't start acting till she was 50, and she could really send herself up, and, you know, it's really quite funny. So I think, yeah, on a personal level, that's the kind of thing I'd like to be doing. Yeah.
What is it about character acting that you love so much?
I love stories. I think stories are a great way, you know, it's something that I watch things to kind of switch off from life. And I think stories are a wonderful way of people experiencing something, you know, certainly with the medias we have now with film and you know, it's just a really lovely way for people to it's a really nice way to tell stories. And I think acting within something is a way to portray a character that quite possibly people can relate to. You know, I've certainly watched things where I've watched things a few times, you know, and you develop almost a personal relationship with the characters you're watching because they're so well portrayed, and you see them as really human, you know, neither good nor bad, but kind of people that just have a personal plight. And I think there's something really, really lovely about that. You know, does that make sense?
Yeah. So what is it that people could help you with?
Gosh, this is really putting me on the spot. I don't know. I don't really know.
It sounds like contacts would be a start, really. People who are looking for people to act for a start.
Yeah.
People who want to collaborate around writing. Would that be fair?
Yeah.
And so, what kind of performances would you like to be involved in? You know, what kind of themes, what kind of plots, that kind of thing, genres?
Gosh, real life stuff. I think stuff that manages to portray quite serious things, but with humor as well, you know, but without detracting from perhaps something that's quite serious. So I think that's really clever when that actually happens in a production or in a film or in a series where you kind of watch, like I said, where you watch the development of the characters and something's portrayed. There is humor, but there's also a real underlying kind of seriousness to the plight of the characters, you know. That really interests me. I think it really interests me when I watch stuff like how people manage to do that, you know. Well,
humor is a really good way of actually engaging people on important topics.
Yeah.
You know, because if you just say, okay, I'm now going to do a presentation on this really heavy topic, it can turn people off. But if you can use humor to capture people's attention, it's an excellent way of getting the point across and engaging people in a conversation sometimes as well.
Yeah. And I think as well, I think that's also based in character work. You know, I think if you can relate to the characters on some kind of level, you know, then you engage with the story and you engage with the process and you engage with that character's you know, the character's choices and the character's development. You know, there's always a character development, isn't there? In any story, there's always perhaps a change in what happens to the person. So that does really interest me, you know. Yeah.
And to clarify, are you looking to perform on stage or in film or some other kind of format?
I don't really mind. I just would like, it would just be really nice to have the opportunity to get stuck in to something and to see how, if I could take that and develop something, you know. Yeah, and possibly writing collaboratively really interests me, you know. Just like the sharing of ideas, and I suppose you're bringing an idea to the table and then watching where that develops, you know. I've got lots of stories, but yeah.
Would you be interested in working on something for the Fringe, say, something like that?
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
I hope it goes ahead next year.
Next year, yeah. That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's really, So I think on a very personal level, you know, I'd definitely like to be being more creative all the time, you know, more of the time. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, let's go to Andy, who's been writing all this down for us, and see how he's captured it.
Hello, Lisa.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you for coming on the show.
Mm-hmm.
It's odd for me to call it a show because normally it's a workshop. Normally we don't show. We allow people to come look. It's a very different type of relationship.
Yeah, I feel quite laid bare, you know. It's like it feels a bit like, you know, a bit ambitious, you know, but it's like actually that is, you know, you have to, you know, I do love storytelling, you know, whether that be.
I think it's really useful. I thank you for saying it does feel a little laid bare. I mean, at the moment, I'm hiding behind the written word. I'm the disembodied voice off camera. just at the moment. I promise you, I will come on camera fairly soon.
Yeah.
And normally when we do these things, it's not so brutally naked the way we do this. We basically invite people to write these sheets and then we put them up so it becomes a very subtle and often one-to-one on many occasion type of relationship. Here we are, we're talking to the people who watch the show, and what we found over the period of lockdown is that a good number of people end up watching these things, pushing around 800-900 people for each show, stuff like that. And if you are watching, thank you for doing so. Listen, I must share with you, when someone comes on and asks for something that is so personal, a little part of me delights, a little part of me lights up on the inside. I do like, and I really appreciate those people doing fantastic stuff that's based about trying to make our communities better. But there's something really special, something really honest about asking for something for yourself on that personal level. So I thank you for doing that, for coming on and asking for something about that lifts the quality of your life. And quality of everyone's life, I argue, starts from lifting our own personal quality. Right, that's me, that's my soapbox, I'll get off it. Listen, my role here, if it's all right with you, is to just go over what this ambition, go over what I've written down as best I can on our ambition calling card, and check that I have understood what you've been saying. Are you okay for me to do this?
Yeah.
Great. Well, inspired, I've written, by doing drama. Really, you're telling us you'd love to get your teeth into something really substantial, the character parts of the acting, and it's that thing about acting and portraying. So there's challenges and there's rewards and there's depth there, and that's coming across in what you've been reflecting on. And when it comes to the call for help, or call for ideas and so on, occasionally people come in and say, well, how do I start? And I've written that down for you because you very honestly, and thank you for doing so, saying, well, I'm not sure. And this is the magic of Ambigo. This is the magic when we allow other people into the secret of what one of our dreams might be, and dare to say, I don't actually know what to do. So I've written that down there, and what comes back has often surprised me as being incredibly supportive. It may be, as Adam has suggested, that it's about contacts, people you know from any of the stages of the creative journey, from writing with you, from casting, from directing. In your case, what I'm hearing is you'd like the opportunity, but you also like tips on how to get to those opportunities, and you'd really like to, you know, get the reward at the end of it, which is burying yourself in doing this character work and being able to give space for that, you know, creative, dramatic art activity. Is there anything else that as I've been speaking that you think, yes, actually something else might help here, or will that do as a starting question?
No, I think that's a good start. Yeah.
I am really pleased to be able. Sorry, carry on.
No, sorry, I was just going to say, I think what I enjoy about it is when I'm watching stuff, I'm often quite, you know, I love it when people just get themselves out of the way, you know what I mean? Yeah, so it's definitely about, how do you start with kind of getting your teeth into more, you know? Yeah.
And we all have to start somewhere. And often when we do, I think it's time for me to swap cameras. And often when we do, we come from a place of not knowing. Hey, hi, Lisa. Listen, it's nice to see you. And we often come from a place where we don't know. And one of the most honest and most useful things we can say, when we are confident that we're around people who will actually treat us with respect, is, what do I do? And this is why Ambigo seems to have tapped into quite a lot of strength. We seem to have a lot of people who are really happy to honestly say, okay, I take that as an idea. Good for you. Here are some suggestions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the ambition calling card that I have attempted to scribe for you. I shall plant it here on the wall of ambitions, our Ambigo wall of ambitions, which I often said normally goes out to a place that's convenient for you, maybe outside your local supermarket, the local co-op. The co-op have been really good to us, Lucy. They funded quite a lot of our stuff, and so thank you for them for allowing us to try and do something useful for our communities. And here we kind of just get people to browse and have a little read of those things, and maybe they know something that you don't. So we encourage them, grab one of the post-it notes, one of our colored pens or whatever, and maybe make just a few comments like, have you thought of, might you like to try? There's a chance that someone will make a comment on your ambition calling card that you already know, a suggestion that you thought of, and that happens, that's fine. But there's also a chance they'll say something that no one else would have thought of, and that's where the magic comes in. When someone says, something you might not have thought of, which is doing character work for corporate advertising or something. I don't know, something that was really lateral and so on. And that's where the magic kicks in. Or people who say, actually, I do character work. I would be happy to have a chat, maybe be a bit of a mentor for you. And maybe, point you in the right directions for courses that will give you contacts, that will give you opportunities, or whatever the process is. I don't know because I'm not in the industry, but this is where our call goes out to you watching. And if you are a part of Brighton the Hoves and wonder, or you're watching from further afield, and you know this type of work, and you know the kind of, you feel the passion that Lucien is kind of sharing with us, and you feel you maybe can make some suggestions about that, then please do. It will be a delight for us to be able to share that across. There we go. As I've been talking, has anything else come up for you about this somewhat lovely ambition?
No, I mean, I'd like to be involved with more, with community arts more and different things. But I mean, I think that's, I just would like, I just think to be being more creative generally in life.
There's the underlying request, isn't it? Acting and drama is your way in. But what I'm hearing is that the drama, the creative art can go much, much further. And so, it's.
I think it's so important. I just think self-expression is such an important, You know, it's so important, you know.
Yeah.
And I've just noticed that come up that because you're giving me time, that Pete's not getting, he's getting a smaller spot. I think Pete should have a slot, because I think Cascade is such a good, it's such a good.
It is a joy to be able to say to you and every single person who comes on the show,
Yeah,
you are important too.
right.
However, I've heard what you said. Let me bring my friend and colleague Adam back on the screen.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Real pleasure. No, thank you for bringing this. And
Don't
Adam,
go away yet.
No, hang in there. Because what I'd like to say to Adam is, please let people know how they can follow through and get in touch with us and therefore listen.
Yeah, just leave a comment on Facebook if that's where you're watching us. And Helen, for example, has done that. Said, thanks, guys, for a great session. Really appreciate that, Helen. So if you have a comment that you want to share with any of our participants this evening, then just drop it on Facebook or on YouTube, and we'll be able to share it on the screen. Or you can click on the link that is right next to this video, and you'll join us here in the broadcast. Or you can send us a message on WhatsApp, and I've got my phone right here, so I can check it and share any messages you'd like to send with everybody. Okay, thank you so much for sharing that. And we're really excited about booking tickets to your show next year.
Yeah, good.
Lovely. Right, we'll crack on then, because as you've said, we want to make sure we get enough time in for our final two participants. But we'll really appreciate you sharing what you have, and we'll pass on any support that comes your way, and we'll also make a social media post out of your ambition as well.
Thank you very much.
Okay, ciao.
Bye-bye.
Bye for now.
All right, let's go on to our next participant, Andy, and it's Pete. Hello, Pete, again. How are you doing?
Oh, yeah, I'm okay. Sorry for being sort of a random drop-in. I'll just see.
No, well, you're a late substitute.
Right, hopefully super sub, game changer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us, what's the number one thing that you'd like to bring to the event this evening regarding a goal or an ambition that you have for yourself or for Cascade? What is it?
Well, that's the thing. When you set up a charity like Cascade, which is basically a community, separating personal self and professional self is a real art form, an art form that I have not mastered, you know, and most people involved with Cascade and on an organizational level also struggle with that. Where does the two things end and begin? So yeah, personally and professionally, having space to accommodate the need would be, you know, would make my life easier, because I wouldn't be going home thinking, well, the place was really full and that person who came to the door looked in and didn't walk in through the door. I don't know where they were at. I don't know. And I go home with that going, that person could have been in need, and I might never know. That might have been the one opportunity to engage with that person and just nudge him in the right direction or her in the right direction, you know. So especially with the current circumstances of the main drug and alcohol service unable to open the doors until October because of Public Health England guidance, and I think that's pretty nationwide. Yeah, so having anywhere, you know, like a warehouse that can be converted, we're really good. We got people that can stick up stud walls and do the electrics and the plumbing and everything, you know, within our community. You know, we're not just all actors and writers and you know, poets and musicians. You know, we do other things as well. So yeah, that would make, you know, I mean, like, what's happening with the Wagner Hall? Somebody from the council, please get in touch. You know, answer an email. It'd be great. You know, but what's happening to the old buildings, the platform that went out of business 2-3 years ago? What's happening to those buildings? It'd be really good to have a healthy, vibrant, abstinent community right off West Street, you know, demonstrating that you can have a life without caning it, you know, that you can have fun, you can have connection without, you know, the primary purpose of the night being obtaining and consuming substances.
Yeah, and so is there anything else that you'd like to add in terms of how people could support you? I mean, if there are people in the council, they can get in touch, that's one thing. For other people who don't have any connections in that sense, who are watching this now or in the future, is there anything else that they could help you with?
Trustees would be good. Trustees that have experience in the voluntary sector or financial systems. That's I think any charity of our size always struggles with getting appropriate financial systems in place and adhering to them, because quite often it's quite easy to put them on the back boiler when you got somebody in need coming in wanting some attention, needing some attention, or you've got an arts project like the Chronologue project that Lucy is involved in, and Mike's involved in, and Helen as well. It's quite easy to concentrate on that. So trustees would be good. That like to work in an unconventional way, because we're pretty unconventional. We were the first charitable incorporated organisation in Brighton. So, and
the first CIO. Wow.
Yeah. I'm sure there's some that would dispute that, but we waited before we constituted ourselves as the Charity Commission until that came into law, so we could constitute ourselves as a CIO. We got help from Jenny Moore, who is a great community development worker. And can I just add, if Lucy's still watching, we've got a project coming up, starting to be developed in September with Speak Up, Act Out, and the lovely Angela and Sarah of Grin and Tonic, Sarah Davies. So we'll be developing a bit of forum theatre, which will be a bit kick-ass, and making recovery from substance misuse a political issue, because it is. If we phone an estate agent or a landlord and we ask about a premises, we will not get a return phone call if they find out what we're about. They will make a judgment that we're alkies and junkies, and and we will just bring trouble with us. They don't understand that word recovery. They just hear the addict, the addiction, the alcoholism. That's the only bit they don't understand. And that's part of our remit as a charity, is to actually get a wider understanding that people do recover and live fulfilling lives, and quite often contribute to their communities to a greater extent than somebody that hasn't been through similar experiences.
Yeah, and you're proof of that, the organisation that you're running, and how, like Mike said, it's asset driven as well. So there's so many skills coming to the fore, and being useful in many ways. So just to summarise the kind of ambition, I mean, the main one at the moment for you is the premises, and you'd like people to get in touch from the council if they can help out.
Please.
And then also linked to that is people to be trustees. And you said that you work in an unconventional manner. I wonder if you can elaborate on that for us. What does that mean? We're
a community. We have organisational structures, but we are a community. And there's myself and Christy. We're the only two employees, and we're very prolific. We do everything from recovery coaching, one-to-one support, group work. Put on pantos. Our choir sings at Tate Modern and the Brighton Dome. We organise big public health events like the South Coast Recovery Walk last year, Overdose Awareness Day. So we're very, very holistic. So that makes us unconventional anyway. We're an arts-based charity that does a lot more, than just performances. We support people through that experience and out the other end. We support them from the first day they walk into the coffee shop, maybe without a clue as to who they are, what they want in life, all they know is they want to be free of a substance that controls them. And CGL, the local drug and alcohol service, is really good, and the two rehabs are really good at sort of getting them, holding them while they distance themselves from that substance. But we're there to take them on a journey into who they are, what excites them, what gets their juices going, what, you know, what lights them up, you know, inspires them on those dark days. Like during lockdown, we were on it. We had all our creative groups online within a week. We had a support group going within a week. We were phoning around. We were providing phones and IT for people. A lot of other organisations might have taken a bit longer to implement a lot of that. So yeah, it needed done.
Dynamic.
Dynamic, yes, yes. Not particularly on a Friday night at this time, I gotta say. But yeah. Well,
you're more than alert for us. Now let's see if Andy's alert. Let's go to him now and see what he's managed to take down for you.
Hi, Pete.
Hi, Andy.
Hey, thanks for coming on. It's good to chat with you. I
haven't
written. Sorry, I talked over you there. My apologies. I was just saying I haven't written a lot down there because it was really nice that Mike has covered there. And really, the richness of what you're saying doesn't often go on to the ambition calling card. Certainly, there's a real effectiveness in what Cascade Creative Recovery has been doing. So the ambition, as I understand it, is really to build on that, to allow you to be able to help more people. And once again, there is that stigma. And you eloquently said how, you know, you don't get the callback because people can't see beyond the trouble stage of the journey through recovery.
The label.
Yeah.
You know, that label. And again, part of what we're trying to do is help people redefine who they are.
Exactly.
You know? I'm an actor. I'm a published author. I'm, you know, a guitar player, songwriter. I'm a barista.
Yes.
I'm a recovery coach. You know, I'm a helper. As well as having, you know, fundamental issues that are probably based on some sort of trauma.
Yeah.
I think the thinking finally is coming around to that.
Often, yeah.
And
I think you make a very important point. The identities we associate with people and being able to have a healthier identity and one that releases us from the prejudgment or the prejudice and the stigma, it's a good thing to have. So really, when it comes to the call for help, it boils down to, on the surface, premises, the contact with premises and so on, and also the help with the trustees and some of the mechanics about operating as a formal organization. But I'm also hearing other in there that is such a creative, energetic, full of variety, full of wonderful creativity. So, you know, I get the impression that anyone who's interested, you'll be happy to have that conversation with them and get them linked in. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You know, everything we do is doesn't happen unless a volunteer is willing to help make it happen. Because, like I said, I mean, we do all that with myself, who's full time, and Christy, who's supposed to be part time, but really isn't. You know, as is in the community voluntary sector, everyone ends up doing a lot more than their contract says. So
it goes with the industry.
And that, you know, and it's changing landscape of work and funding and austerity and all the rest of it.
Plus the positive side of it, talking from a personal point of view, is there is something passionate about this, you know, being able to feel that we're doing something that might possibly be helping out. It's actually kind of a little bit more worthwhile, well, feels a little bit more worthwhile than just making money or something like that. Anyway, notwithstanding, let me grab the ambition calling card and place it. I want to pair it up with Mike's earlier ambition about premises, because they are very connected. And really it is down to that thing. Can you expand on the type of skills that you'd want at trustee level? Is it things like a knowledge of the community sector and the legislation and compliance? Is it that sort of thing? Or are there other areas that you'd like your new trustees to kind of bring skills?
I mean, I would like to say we've got great trustees, but we need a couple more just to strengthen the board. And that's always, I think, a lot of charities, especially our size, find it quite hard to attract them in.
Understood.
But but people that have worked in the voluntary sector around governance, around policies, and that have those connections as well. Within the community sector. I have been doing this for about 10 years now, and I worked in adult social care and was a political activist and stuff in the past. So I'm fairly tuned into Brighton and Hove as a organic sort of city. But it'd be good to have somebody on the board that also kind of can reflect and reach out when and where. Somebody in the arts would be good,
maybe,
who knows the local arts scene, and somebody who's good with numbers, because really not my forte.
Well, thanks for the candor.
It just isn't. I do it, but through gritted teeth.
Well, with your permission, then let me make sure people know how to get in touch with us by asking my friend and colleague Adam to come in and briefly, if you can, because I'm aware of the time, just remind people the best ways of getting in touch so we can make this connection happen.
Yep, you can just comment on Facebook or on YouTube. Just write a little comment, press send, and it will appear here on our screen and we can share it with the world. Or you can click on the link that you'll find accompanying the video and you'll join us here on the broadcast. Or you can send a message on WhatsApp to the number that's scrolling across the bottom of your screen in just a moment. There it goes. Thanks so much for explaining everything you have, Pete. It's been a pleasure and a privilege as well to partner with Cascade this evening.
Can I just maybe correct something that Mike says? Our constitution is primarily aimed at helping people in Brighton and Hove. So if you're a rehab in Greater Manchester wanting to work with us, we might not be able to accommodate you. So we have ambitions, but for
the moment, Brighton and Hove.
So
thanks for the clarification. Appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Pete. Okay, Andy, we have time for one last participant. So let's go and meet who that is. It is Care. Hello, Care.
Hi, how are you?
Very good. Thanks for holding on for us and thanks for being there. Tell us then, what is it that you'd like to do? What kind of goal or ambition do you have?
Okay, so it is to help people understand the issues surrounding addiction and homelessness better. Again, why it's important, I think Mike has just about covered all of that, in that people are judgmental. They're really complex issues, and it's so stigmatized. So I think what I really want to do is to be able to break down those barriers.
And how would you like to do that?
I've worked with Cascade and a group called Invisible Voices for a few years, and what we've been able to do is put together some books which have collected stories of people who are in recovery and show that recovery is possible, who have come out of homelessness and are now living in accommodation. We've looked at all different issues. We've published poetry books for people who use Cascade, so individuals from Cascade. We've published their work. What else have we done? We've written a children's book about homelessness. So it's to put all that out there and show that actually there's more to the person than just what you would see on the street with a bottle or in the doorway.
And And so what is it that the people watching now and who will watch in the future, what can they do to support this?
I think really what we'd like is to find channels for promotion and marketing and distributing selling the books to raise funds, because all funds that we make go back into places like Cascade and other homeless charities in Sussex or Brighton. So it would be to get some distributions and promotions, some marketing, so that we can actually put money into Cascade.
And what kind of places would you like these to be seen in? You know, who would you like to caught the interest of?
We'd like bookshops, preferably, because I know that my circumstances have changed and I don't have time to dedicate to going out to sell these books at different events. You know, I work in education, so my time is quite limited. And I would like to maybe have a bookshop that can actually get the books, sell them, and help us with that. Promote the books so that they're seen. I mean, we're very good at going on Facebook and saying, look at our books, here's a review, but that's about as far as we can go.
Can you give us an example, I wonder, of one of the stories that you've actually that you've read from somebody who's been involved with one of these services, or is the one that stands out as a good representational story?
Oh my goodness.
Representative story, I should say.
There are so many, but I think one is a young lady who we met in Cascade, and she struggled with addiction from a young age. And the one thing that really stood out, and it to this day, she says, her issues were primarily with drugs, but she said, I can't pick up a alcoholic drink because at the bottom of the glass is my dealer's number. So yeah, so I think, and she'd come such a long way. She was quite early in her recovery when we spoke to her, and sadly I've lost touch with this person, but at that point she was doing really well. So it's to show recovery is possible, and Cascade makes it possible.
Wow.
Yeah, Cascade is such an important place for people. It saves lives. So yeah, that would be my goal.
Thank you. That was really powerful. Okay, let's go over to Andy, who's been writing this up for you. Andy.
Hello, Care.
Hi, Andy.
It's nice. I didn't realise when I saw your name. I didn't realise it's you. We have met. I'm pleased to see you again.
Nice to see you.
And thank you for bringing this in. My role, as you know, is to try and capture the essence in a few words of what we use the word ambition, your ambition is, and put it on an ambition calling card as our main way of getting the message out there. So what I'd like to do is just go through what I've written and make sure that I've understood what you're saying and that I haven't missed anything important. You okay for us to do that?
Absolutely.
Great. Okay. So you said that you want to help people understand the issues around addiction and homelessness better. And this links really strongly in with the conversations we've been having with both Mike and Pete about the stigma, the prejudgment or prejudices, and so on. So, you know, I really am happy to be able to help call out that prejudice and get this communicated. The way you want to do it is by gathering stories of lived experience and putting them into books and publishing them to a wider audience. So you're drawing that true story and you're making it in a presentable form that people can get access to, which is a very different type of relationship to somebody who we might, you know, basically notice and deliberately try not to make eye contact with and walk away from. So there's something powerful in what you're offering here. When it comes to the help, the sort of how people might be able to engage in this, the thing that I heard you say really was to find channels for promoting and marketing these publications, and it's quite a nice variety of publications, further, wider than you have been able to do so. And I understand that this is really about getting those stories, those more honest, more true, more rich, more full insight into people's lives out to that wider public, because that's the way of addressing the prejudgments, the assumptions that are often made about this. Have I got that right? That's about right, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. We've published a few books, and I think about 4 or 5 different poetry books for members of Cascade already. Their own poetry. So it's just to show that actually there is such talent. There is such talent in the recovery community as well.
Yeah. And that's coming through as well from the lovely thing about talking about the alternative things that people are doing, the creative side to the cafe. Let me change cameras if I may. Here we go. And it's good to see you again, Claire. This is obviously what I look like. Right, yes, let me put the ambition onto the wall, our wall of ambitions. Here we go. And often what we get, as you probably have heard me say before, is a variety of types of responses. It's lovely to have a few words of encouragement, and we're very, very happy to do that, because, you know, where these ideas resonate, or at least the passion resonates, it's really nice to be able to just say, yeah, keep going, lovely idea. And of course, if people know a contact or someone who can do something, that's really, really useful. So if you happen to know a book distribution organization, an agent or something that might really want to be able to pick up on this and spread it even further to new markets, in front of new people, maybe through an education pathway, I don't know. Claire, this is the magic of Ambigo. It's not what we know, it's what you watching who know. And if you get inspired by this, the tips and advice you might be able to give that may be something that Claire doesn't know, or Adam and I haven't picked up on our little time, 3.5 years of doing this, which we often share. It's the other ideas, that's the really useful thing. The things we wouldn't have thought of, the avenues or the contacts or the opportunities that people can go explore, which we wouldn't have touched because we had no idea they existed. So those sorts of thoughts, please share them with us on any of these ambitions, including Claire's, and we will make sure that contact goes through. And of course, if you have a story to share, are you still receiving stories? Are you still, Claire, are you still?
At the moment, we haven't been,
Okay.
but if we are in the future, then we'll be putting it out there for people to get in contact.
Well, yes, good to know.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the sort of things that tends to come in off of that. Often it's through that very personal relationship. And why I like what you're doing is we have a very personal relationship with books. It really is just us and what is conjured up for us on the canvas of our minds through the words that you're painting with. And it's that kind of relationship we try and keep, we try and get with the Wall of Ambitions, because although it's a big, massive thing out there, naked in the public, the relationship you have with it is just as quiet. I read this, and it's me, the sheet of paper, which is speaking sort of on behalf of the ambition here. That kind of thing, if we could preserve, that's why we love being out in public. But obviously here on the internet, this is the best we can do. So if you're finding yourself resonating with what Claire's saying, understanding that there is a need to break down the stigma, and there's a real pathway here that's actually, has a real potential, and you think you might be able to help with it with just some advice or some contacts of people who can actually help, or tips and stuff like that, please do get in touch. As I've been speaking, Claire, has anything come up for you that I've missed, or anything new that you want to add to this?
No, I think you said about education, and for me that's really important because I have a teaching background. So one of the books that we've written is a children's book. We say from about the age of 10 upwards. So maybe something along those lines as well, to
Possibly.
maybe start younger and educating from a younger age would be interesting.
Maybe. Well, for the last time this evening, let me ask my friend and colleague Adam to come back in and just share with people how they can get in touch with us so that we can contact any of these lovely people on your behalf. Adam.
Well, we're in the closing stages of this event now, but that doesn't mean you still can't help out if you've got some support you'd like to give. So just leave a comment on Facebook or YouTube and we'll be able to pass it on. It's probably actually a bit too late now to join us in this live broadcast, but for future events, you'll be able to do that by clicking on the link that you'll see around this video. So bear that in mind for our next event next week. Or you can send us a message on WhatsApp. There's the number just scrolling off the screen and it'll come back around again, don't worry. Send us a message on WhatsApp if that's your preferred medium and we'll be able to pass it on. Okay, lovely. We have reached the 8:30 mark, which means it's the end of our event. And well, it's fantastic to have had your ambition involved as our final one, Care. So we're going to get in touch with you if any support comes through. And also, as I've said to everybody so far, we'll be making a social media post about it as well in time. And so we'll be in touch about that as well.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Care. So just before we go, how about we bring Pete back in?
Yes,
if that's
please.
all right with you, Pete, just for a final word. Hey, Andy. Here he is.
Hiya.
Hello, Pete. Yeah, so this is the conclusion of our online event. Thanks so much, Pete, for allowing Cascade Creative Recovery to be a partner with us on this one. It's been wonderful to hear a lot of inspiring ambitions and generally for your organisation as well, hearing about what you want to do and why and the impact it has.
Yeah, but it's I know we've been a bit of a pain in the arse to sort of like get to this point. We are quite stretched with delivering everything online and upskilling and learning on our feet and supporting people in a way that doesn't come naturally to us. So so thanks for your patience and perseverance with us.
No, not at all. You've been an excellent partner. Don't worry about that.
Yeah,
and it's been great to have this opportunity, and we look forward to maybe some point in the future revisiting this, and hopefully you can come along to the premiere of the Chronologue project, which will be at the depot in Lewes sometime in Lewes, and sometime September, which is National Recovery Month. So that's been an exciting project that we've been able to deliver online. So I'll be pinging an email invite to you both to come along and have a look at that.
please do.
Thank you, and we'll make sure we put it out there on the Ambigo social media pages as well, so everybody's aware.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Pete. Really appreciate
Thanks
your
a
time.
lot,
Really
guys.
appreciate your partnership.
Thanks a lot.
See ya.
Thanks.
So, Andy, although he was apologising, don't really know what for because they've been wonderful partners and lined up some wonderful participants as well. And I suppose what's left for us to say is we'd like to partner with more organisations locally, right?
Yeah, very happy to. If you think it might bring a little benefit, we'd be delighted to be a part of that. I don't really have anything else to say to that. Please come join us.
Well, our next partner, we're hoping, is to be confirmed, but we're pretty confident that next week our event is going to be in partnership with Action for Happiness Brighton.
Oh, yeah.
So now I've said that publicly, it's got to happen. So we're really looking forward to that one. So we've got a lot of events still to come that we're planning with different partners. Creative Future is one of them. And also Gig Buddies for Good Mental Health, who we've actually partnered with before. I said, we loved it so much, we want to come back again. So in mid-August, we'll be partnering with them once more. But for now, it's time to say goodbye, I think.
Yeah.
Off we go then. Thank you for joining us. Keep on sending in your comments. And we'll see you again same time next week.